Well, this is an interesting topic.
Give me your wig, give me your wig, give me your wigs. You don't know what to do with it.
This is a clear deviation from my usual videos, and I'm recording this beforehand just in case I have decided to travel to Florida to visit my best friend and also to visit my friends from college. I haven't seen them in a long time, but I still wanted you guys to have something to watch. And since this topic was kind of spread around on social media, at least at the time that I'm recording this, I said, you know, it's a great time to talk about it. And also because I wrote an article on Thursday and posted it about my experience being so stifled, and that's part of the reason why my name is Adrian Expression, like my brand name is Adrian Expression, just because I finally, online was a place that I was finally allowed, or finally I was able to express who I really was. So, you know, I wrote an article on Thursday talking about how some of the things that I was forced to be or forced into, it's hard to let some of that go. And even now, I'm still trying to explore parts of me that I wasn't allowed to explore before, still at 25. And it's still scary because of how my self-expression was punished and viewed. And a lot of times I think that has to do with the fact that there are a lot of people around me, adults in my family, who are projecting who they wanted me to be onto me, and I was just not having it. I was not having it. It didn't matter the fact that my father was out here burning clothes in the backyard that he thought was girly, or, you know, the fact that my parents were sending me to therapy for same-sex attraction disorder, like I mentioned in the article. You need to go to patreon.com/AdrianSpecial, sign up so you can read it. I think to a certain extent there are people in your family or parents, whoever, who may not see you as a human being. They see you as their property, or they see you as somebody who needs to be their clone, and that's not gonna happen. You're a human being, and that's just that. You're going to develop your own fucking personality unless they try to make sure that you don't. But to push it even further, I was thinking about that one scene in How to Get Away with Murder, and I forget what episode exactly it was, but it was that white woman. She was sitting there talking to Annalise Keating. I think Annalise was in rehab again at the time, and I don't know, Annalise was pressing her because she was pressing Annalise about, like, who are you really, blah, blah, blah. And Annalise was like, girl, I already know who you are. You're just pressed and mad that you had to give up your life for your kids, and you riding around here in your minivan and your soccer mom at built ass, you know, clothing, and you're pressed that you don't have a life of your own, so that's why you're drinking. And she ended up breaking, the white girl ended up breaking, saying, I hate my kids. I resent them. I'm mad that I had them. But she said, when I leave here, they're gonna be home. They're gonna be sitting there waiting for me, and I still hate them. I also think about Jomias. I forget, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, don't really care. This guy is someone who left his kid at a closed police department because apparently the parent found him watching gay porn on his phone or whatever, and he just dropped the kid off and said, you're going to have to find a new home. And the kid, of course, the guy was arrested because it was just a kid he left on the side of the road, and he neglected his other children as well. He just abandoned him. I talked about this on my podcast too, on patreon.com/Adrian Expression. You can check it out. I went into detail about this and talked about it, but it's just, at least for me, as I start to, when I was younger, I was like, okay, parents are parents, and they love you unconditionally, and they, you know what I mean? They're perfect, they're gods. You see them as like gods when you're younger because you have to listen to them. They're feeding you and clothing you. But then as you grow older, you start to see, like, girl, you got as many problems as I do, you know? But it's really damaging if parents don't admit, first of all, that they have their own issues. Second of all, they project their issues onto you. Third of all, they try to make you be somebody that you're not. They force you to have a personality that they think is acceptable, quote unquote. Now, there's a difference between trying to force somebody to be something that they're not versus trying to protect someone or say, hey, don't steal, don't, you know what I mean? That's completely different. But when you're trying to stifle someone's emotional or mental expression or growth, that's when I think that's the insecurity of the parents jumping out. And so I'm just like, I think a lot of people have to really think about, why do you want kids? Are you going to be able to deal with the fact that your kid might come out gay, might end up trans, might be disabled. Like, are you able to handle, this is a whole human life that you're dealing with. And if you're not capable of doing that shit, stay away from it. If you can, stay away from it. Stay away from it. But a lot of people, and they won't even, it's one thing, I'm not expecting parents to be perfect, but it's one thing to admit your flaws and try to grow from them, and it's another thing to act like you're perfect, act like you don't make no mistakes, and then when you see your kid making mistakes or whatever you consider making mistakes, you come down like a goddamn executioner on their asses. So I want to speak specifically about this Reddit post that went viral on social media. I don't know if I want to read, I don't think I'll read all of it. Okay, so it says, I never wanted kids, never saw myself as a family man, and the title of it is I hate my kids and resent my wife because of them. I now have 3 kids. They are all amazing. I hate them more than anything. I hate being needed. I hate the whining. I hate how they have ruined my life. I hate how I can't do the things I want to do because they exist. I also resent my wife for making me choose between losing her or having kids. She gave me an ultimatum and I've realized I made the wrong choice. I don't hate children in general, and if other people want to have kids, more power to them, but I feel like this is the biggest mistake I've ever made. The stress is so bad that I was put on a 72-hour suicide watch at the hospital. I would rather kill myself than continue down this road. But I'm trapped. I had these kids. I made this terrible decision. So now I have to do my best to be an amazing dad for them. And I do my best. Just because I hate them, it doesn't mean that they deserve a shitty life. I get no good emotion from being a father. Hearing them laugh or telling me they love me does nothing for me. If my wife and kids died in a fiery car wreck, I doubt I'd even cry. I want to leave, but they don't deserve a broken home. And by the time they're 18, the economy will probably be so collapsed that it will be normal for several generations of families to live under one roof, and I'll be trapped. I want to leave them, but I was raised better. And anytime I start to put my escape into motion, I feel guilty, not sad, guilty. And this is interesting. I brought this up. This is interesting because the first thing is I feel like this reminds me, I don't know, because like I said, when you're younger, when you're really young, you think parents, oh, they automatically love you and they care for you and they wouldn't hurt you because they had you, so why wouldn't they love you? So I'll say this, as I go back and look at the behavior of my father, and I look at the behavior, like how he treated all 3 of his children, I realized that this probably is exactly what he was thinking in the house. It took me so long, but I realized that just because your ass had kids doesn't mean that your ass wants them. And for the life of me, I never understood how that could even happen. But when society tells you that you ain't shit, or you ain't a real nigga if you don't have a wife and kids, or if you don't have a family, or if you ain't trying for that, then you're probably, if you are somebody who's insecure, you're gonna go out and do it just because the world says that you should. And in my opinion, don't do that shit. Live your single best life by your goddamn self, you know, because there's so many lives that he hurt. My father hurt himself, he hurt his whole family, and it's just like, damn, you should, if your ass didn't want no goddamn kid, you shouldn't have had none. You shouldn't have had none. I would have been fine with that. I would have been floating around in oblivion and completely fine. I don't know, I would have still found a way to dye my hair blue, but all that shit wasn't necessary. And even in the post on Reddit, he says, you know, they don't deserve a broken home. But a lot of parents don't understand that. First of all, the kids can already tell if they're in a broken home. Even if there are 2 parents in the home, they can already tell when they're in a broken home because of the way that the parents act towards each other or act towards them. It doesn't matter. Just because you're physically there doesn't mean that your ass is emotionally there. And honestly, my home was a more peaceful, happier home when it was just me, my mother, and my brother and sister, as opposed to having that nigga in the house all the time sucking all the joy and life and energy out of all of us. So what y'all consider a broken home oftentimes might be a healing home, or a home on its way to healing. And it will be heartbreaking, I understand, because I don't have kids, so I can't even speak so much to the experience of being a parent, but I can speak from a son's perspective. I guess if your kids care about you, it would be heartbreaking, but if you're emotionally absent, you're already absent. They feel that. They feel that. They can tell. I promise you. And a lot of people, I want to hear from a lot of people who have had, maybe their parents have divorced or waited a long time to get divorced, and you as a kid, or maybe as an adolescent, were like, oh, finally. You know, I'm sure there are a lot of people with that experience. Like, girl, y'all keep talking about this. Oh, we don't want no broken home. We don't want no broken home. Girl, the shit is fucked up already. It's already fucked up. Just split up and get it over with. The kids can tell. So I don't know. I think that a lot of the reasons why I think as a whole society, we have to really investigate a lot of the reasons why we have kids. And now I'm not talking about no accident or, accidental pregnancies and all of that is completely different. But if we're talking about people who actually sit their ass down and plan to have kids, or, somebody giving somebody an ultimatum even though they know that their ass don't want kids, or that your ass is not in a position to have kids and you still want to do it because society says so, or you just want to see what your ass looks like, or like we really have to, as a whole society, sit down and revamp why we have kids. Because you are not only destroying the lives of these human beings, these young kids, but you're causing them, especially if they've internalized your negative ass habits, you're causing them to just redo the whole generational cycle of abuse, I would love to hear what you guys think about this. Like I said, this Reddit post was going viral, but I'm sure he's not the only parent who wished that he never had kids. I think that's part of the reason why it went viral, because maybe many people could have related to it. They're kids who can now put into perspective, okay, I feel like based off of the way my father, me specifically, or maybe somebody's mother, or both of them, treated me, treated kids, treated other people, the way that they conducted themselves, seeing this Reddit post, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's probably what my parent was thinking. They probably didn't want to have kids. And there's some parents who just feel like, well, girl, let me just throw a couple bucks at you, sit your ass in front of the TV and just shut the fuck up, because they don't want to parent. They don't want to parent. And that's fine, but if your ass does not want to parent, I think you have to think very hard and seriously about why it is that you rushing to have kids, or why it is that you feel like you need to have kids, or you need to build this white picket fence and shit. But that's my whole thing, that's my whole message. Like, some of these rules, not all of them obviously, but some of the rules set up by society ain't serving nobody no goddamn good. So if you look at a man and automatically think, well, girl, you need to have a family, or you look at a woman and say, you need to have a family, what if that woman does not want to have a family? What if that man does not want to have a family, and they feel all the societal pressure to have one, and then they end up fucking their kids up because they didn't want to have the kids in the first place? We have to rethink this whole thing as a society, and I would like to hear what you guys think about this rant that I just gave, or the topic in general. And on that note, make sure that you have a good goddamn evening.